welcome to a deep dive that goes in a completely different direction than you might be used to from us.
Yeah, it's definitely a shift.
It really is. I mean, if you are listening to this right now, chances are you spend a significant portion of your day communicating in English.
Right. You might be navigating complex work environments.
Exactly. Reading dense reports or trying to express highly nuanced ideas. But today, we're stripping all of that away.
Completely. We're taking it back to basics.
We really are. We are not looking at a groundbreaking scientific theory, and we aren't decoding some abstract philosophy.
No, not today.
Instead, our mission today is to examine the absolute bedrock of everyday, real-world communication. We are looking at the words you use when you are simply living your life.
And it is a really refreshing shift in perspective, to be honest.
It is, right?
Yeah, because sometimes to truly understand how we express our reality or even to find the gaps in our own fluency, we have to look past that complicated, specialized vocabulary.
We have to look at what we actually say every single day.
Exactly. We have to examine the foundational sentence patterns that people use to describe their most basic daily actions.
And the source material we are working with today is perfectly suited for this.
It really is. It's a beginner-level English conversational script.
Right. Essentially designed for A1 to A2 learners. It's titled Simple Life, Easy English.
And it features a dialogue between two characters.
We'll call them our conversational guides for today. Their names are Alex and Sarah.
The premise of their conversation is incredibly straightforward.
Very. They're just talking about their daily habits.
Tracing their actions from the second they open their eyes in the morning, right to the moment they finally go to sleep.
Now, you might wonder why we are dedicating a comprehensive deep dive to a beginner script about waking up and going to work.
Right, it sounds almost too simple.
It does. But the value here lies entirely in the concept of frequency.
Yes. That concept of frequency is the absolute key to unlocking natural communication.
Because while a daily routine seems mundane, it's actually everything.
Exactly. The words required to describe your routine represent the absolute highest frequency vocabulary in the English language.
Think about it. You might spend years learning incredibly complex terminology for a specific academic field, right?
Very niche industry, yeah.
But the reality is, you might only use those terms a few times a month.
If that.
Right. But conversely, every single day of your life, you wake up,
You get dressed,
you navigate some form of commute,
you consume food
and you prepare for sleep.
every single day. So mastering the specific verbs, the natural pronunciation, and the structural patterns of these daily events, it's essentially the ultimate shortcut to practical fluency.
It is the language of human existence.
Truly. If you can't describe your own morning smoothly, all the advanced vocabulary in the world won't make you sound natural in a casual conversation.
It'll just sound rehearsed. So our goal today is to dissect the script piece by piece.
We're going to break it all down.
We're going to focus exclusively on these foundational words. We'll look at how to pronounce them so they flow naturally.
The sentence patterns Alex and Sarah rely on.
And the exact real-world scenarios where these phrases belong.
It is really about moving the language off the written page and understanding how it functions in the mouth and in the real world.
The mechanics of it.
Exactly. We want to look at the mechanics of how English speakers instinctively package their daily lives into words.
Let's begin where the day begins.
Makes sense.
The script opens with Sarah establishing the topic. She asks Alex, "What do you do every day? From the moment you wake up to the moment you sleep?"
And Alex responds with our first major linguistic anchor.
He says, "Well, I usually wake up at 7 a.m., but I don't get out of bed immediately. I stay in bed for 10 minutes and check my phone."
There is a crucial distinction made right out of the gate here.
Right, between wake up and get out of bed.
Yes. In many languages, those concepts might be grouped into a single verb.
But English separates them very clearly.
The separation is deliberate. It paints a highly accurate picture of the human experience.
Because wake up refers strictly to the biological transition, doesn't it?
Exactly. It is the moment sleep ends and consciousness begins, your eyes open.
That's waking up.
But get out of bed is the physical action of moving your body, leaving the mattress, and actually standing up.
By separating these two phrases, Alex is acknowledging a universal modern reality.
The delay between becoming conscious and actually starting the day.
Yes, that delay we all know too well. And he explicitly says he stays in bed for 10 minutes to check his phone.
The verb check is fascinating here.
It really is. Notice he doesn't say, I look at my phone or I read my phone.
Right. The word check implies a very specific type of interaction.
It suggests a quick, habitual review for new information.
Scanning notifications, seeing if any messages arrived overnight.
It's a low-energy, high-frequency action.
Very low energy.
But before we get deeper into the habits themselves, let's look at the physical mechanics of speaking these phrases.
This is so important.
If someone reads wake up directly from a textbook, it can sound quite rigid.
The rigidity usually comes from treating the two words as entirely separate entities.
Like wake up.
Exactly. In written English, wake and up have a space between them. But spoken English is a stream of sound. We don't speak with spaces.
We really don't.
This brings us to the concept of phonetic linking.
Which is huge for sounding natural.
Huge. When a word ends with a consonant sound, like the hard K sound at the end of wake,
Right.
and the very next word begins with a vowel sound, like the in up.
A native speaker will instinctively link them together.
Precisely. So instead of a hard stop, wake, then up, the consonant bridges the gap.
The K sound just slides over.
It attaches to the beginning of the next word. Phonetically, it sounds like one fluid motion, walk up.
Walk up.
Exactly, walk up. This type of linking is the invisible glue that gives English its flowing, rhythmic quality.
If a speaker forces a pause between those words, it creates a microscopic delay.
And to a native ear, that sounds slightly broken or overly careful.
Walk up. The air just keeps moving. I notice this happens with get out of bed as well.
Oh, absolutely.
It rarely sounds like four distinct words in a casual conversation.
It blends significantly. Get out of often smooths out entirely.
How so?
Well, the hard teat in get and out often softens into a fastened sound depending on the regional accent.
Right, it turns into something resembling get-oo to bed.
Do to bed, yes. The tongue is just taking the path of least resistance to get through the phrase efficiently.
It's just faster.
Ah.
So after this initial waking period, Sarah chimes in to say she has a similar habit with her phone.
And then she outlines her bathroom routine.
Right. She states, I go to the bathroom, I wash my face and brush my teeth.
These are non-negotiable daily actions.
Everyone does them. But from a purely mechanical standpoint, there are some very specific sounds required here that can be major stumbling blocks for learners.
The script highlights two consonant sounds that are notoriously challenging depending on your linguistic background.
The shiz and wash and the then teeth.
Exactly. Let's take wash first. To pronounce wash naturally, it requires a continuous flow of air.
It's not a sharp sound.
No, it's sustained. You round your love slightly, raise the middle of your tongue toward the roof of your mouth without touching it, and push the air through that narrow space.
Like a shh sound. Wash.
Wash. It is a soft, sustained sound.
It feels very relaxed in the mouth. But teeth demands an entirely different physical movement.
It really does. The sound is one of those linguistic quirks that simply doesn't exist in many other language families.
It is highly specific.
To make the sound in teeth naturally, the tip of your tongue actually has to leave the inside of your mouth.
It must come out slightly.
Yes, and rest between your upper and lower teeth.
You are essentially creating a seal with your tongue and teeth.
And then gently forcing air through that seal. It's almost like a soft tire leak. Teeth.
Teeth. If you don't commit to putting the tongue between the teeth, the air escapes the wrong way.
And it ends up sounding like an S or an F.
Like tease or teeth.
Which can cause a lot of confusion. It's a very physical correction to make, almost like retraining a muscle to move to a new position.
You literally have to train your tongue to step outside its comfort zone. Now, moving past the physical pronunciation, the script establishes a very clear grammatical rhythm early on.
It does. Let's look at the structure.
Alex states, I usually wake up at 7 a.m.
And a few lines later, when discussing breakfast, Sarah says, I always have a cup of coffee and some toast.
So why do native speakers rely so heavily on words like usually and always when describing their day?
Because these are adverbs of frequency, and they are the core tools for setting expectations in English.
Setting expectations. I like that.
Think about it. If Alex merely said, I wake up at 7 a.m., it states a rigid, unbending fact.
It sounds almost robotic.
Exactly. But human lives aren't robotic.
Right.
By inserting usually, Alex adds immediate nuance. He is communicating that this is his reality for maybe 80 to 90% of his days.
But he is deliberately leaving room for exceptions.
Exactly. Perhaps a weekend where he sleeps in, or a day he is feeling unwell.
It makes the speaker sound more human, more flexible.
And then look at Sarah. She uses always. I always have a cup of coffee.
That removes the flexibility entirely.
It establishes a firm boundary. always communicates that there are zero exceptions to this rule.
Rain or shine, she is having that coffee.
The structural pattern here is incredibly consistent in English. You have the subject, followed by the adverb of frequency, followed by the main verb.
I usually wake up.
I always have.
I sometimes check.
Understanding this structure allows you to express the exact reliability of your habits to whoever you are talking to.
This might be a good moment for you, the listener, to reflect on your own morning routines.
Try applying this right now.
Think about the actions you take within the first hour of waking. Without even realizing it, the way you would construct those sentences reveals a lot about your lifestyle.
Are you an always person when it comes to a specific breakfast?
Or are you a sometimes person? The vocabulary you choose dictates how structured or spontaneous you appear.
And returning to Sarah's breakfast, notice the specific verb she chooses.
This is a great point.
She doesn't say, I eat a cup of coffee and some toast.
No, she says, I have a cup of coffee and some toast.
While eat and drink are the literal biological actions, using the verb have is significantly more common.
It's much more conversational in English when referring to consuming meals or specific food items as part of a routine.
We have breakfast, we have a coffee, we have lunch.
It feels softer somehow.
Yeah.
Saying I eat breakfast feels purely functional.
Like refueling a car.
Right. Whereas I have breakfast feels like you are describing an experience or a block of time in your day.
It's a holistic event.
So having established the morning foundation, the waking, the washing, the coffee, the script inevitably moves us to the next phase of human existence.
Preparing to leave the house.
The transition in the dialogue occurs when Alex says, after breakfast, I get dressed. I usually wear a simple shirt and jeans.
There is a subtle but vital distinction here between the concepts of getting dressed and wearing clothes.
It is a distinction that frequently trips up learners.
Because the end result is the exact same. You have clothes on.
Right. But the verbs describe entirely different phases of that reality.
Let's break it down. Get dressed describes the dynamic, active process.
The actual movement.
Yes, it is the transition from not having daytime clothes on, perhaps being in pajamas or a towel, to putting them onto your body. It is an action.
Right, so you wouldn't say, I am getting dressed a blue shirt.
No, never.
The phrase get dressed operates on its own to describe the general process. It doesn't attach to a specific item of clothing in that way.
Exactly. You perform the action of getting dressed. But wear describes the static, ongoing state of having the clothes on your body.
So once the physical action of getting dressed is complete, you enter the state of wearing those clothes.
That is why Alex's phrasing is so precise. First, the process. I get dressed.
Then, the resulting state applied to specific items. I usually wear a simple shirt and jeans.
The analogy of a movie versus a photograph works perfectly here.
Oh, I love that.
Getting dressed is the movie. It's the movement and the action over time.
And wearing is the photograph. It's the final static image.
Precisely.
After the clothes are sorted, Sarah brings up the concept of travel. She says, then comes the journey to work. Do you drive?
And Alex replies, no, I take the subway. It takes about 30 minutes.
The use of the word journey by Sarah feels slightly traumatic for a daily commute, doesn't it?
It does carry a bit of weight, which is likely why it is positioned playfully in the conversation.
Right.
While in some contexts, journey implies a massive undertaking, in British English particularly, it is quite standard for describing the process of traveling from one place to another, regardless of distance.
But the real mechanical focus here should be on the verbs of transportation.
Yes, the verbs are key here. Sarah asks, do you drive?
Which is the specific verb for actively operating an automobile yourself.
And Alex counters with, no, I take the subway.
Notice he doesn't say, I ride the subway or you use the subway. He says he takes it.
Why does English default to the verb take for public transit?
It comes down to collocations, doesn't it?
It does. Collocations are words that culturally and historically have been paired together until they sound inseparable.
They just belong together.
When you are utilizing a form of public transportation as a service, the standard action is to take it.
You take a bus, you take a train, you take a taxi, you take the subway.
It implies selecting that specific option from a menu of choices to achieve a goal.
And once he selects the subway, he describes the duration. He says, it takes about 30 minutes.
If there's one sentence pattern in this entire script that you, as a listener, should lock into your memory, it is probably this one.
Without question. It takes about, and then the amount of time.
This is the gold standard for describing how long any event lasts in English.
Let's unpack the structure.
It relies on the empty pronoun it as the subject, that it represents the journey or the task itself.
It takes.
And the inclusion of the word about is culturally crucial.
Because modern life is rarely precise.
Traffic fluctuates, trains are delayed.
By adding about, you provide yourself with necessary conversational flexibility.
It means roughly or approximately. It takes about 30 minutes.
You can plug any time frame and any action into this matrix.
It takes about an hour to cook.
It takes about 10 minutes to walk there.
Attempting to translate this concept directly from other languages often results in clunky phrasing.
Like saying, I need 30 minutes for the train.
Or, the commute has 30 minutes.
Those might be understood, sure, but it takes about 30 minutes is the structurally flawless, natively expected way to express duration.
It's exactly what people expect to hear.
Now, the script introduces a brilliant contrast to Alex's 30-minute subway journey.
Sarah revealed her own reality.
She responds, that's a great habit. I work from home, so I just walk to my desk in my living room. I start my computer at 9 a.m.
The vocabulary instantly shifts here to reflect the modern work-from-home scenario.
The environment shrinks, and the language shrinks with it.
She doesn't have a journey or a commute. She has a walk to the living room.
Notice her use of the word just. I just walk to my desk.
This adverb minimizes the action. It emphasizes the lack of effort or the simplicity of her morning compared to Alex's navigation of public transit.
It's a casual flex. And she also uses a very specific verb for her equipment. I start my computer.
She doesn't open it. She doesn't turn it on in this specific sentence. She starts it.
It mirrors the idea of starting a workday or starting a car engine.
It's the beginning of the process.
But the most interesting part of this exchange is Alex's immediate reaction. He says, "You are lucky. No traffic."
This is a perfect study in the rhythm of social interaction.
Because conversation isn't merely taking turns delivering data.
Exactly. It requires reacting to the data you receive.
Alex's response, "You're lucky," is a high-frequency empathetic phrase.
It acknowledges a favorable situation for the other person without conveying jealousy.
It builds rapport, and the fragment, "no traffic,"
Yeah.
acts as a shared cultural exclamation.
Because traffic is the universal frustration of the commuter.
By highlighting that Sarah avoids it, Alex is bonding with her over a shared understanding of what makes a morning difficult.
Learning to deploy quick affirmative reactions like this is what makes a speaker sound truly fluent and socially integrated.
Rather than just grammatically correct.
Right. It demonstrates active listening. It shows you understand not just the words, but the implications of what the other person is experiencing.
So we have navigated the waking process, the physical preparation and the commute, whether that is a subway ride or a walk to the living room.
The dialogue now naturally progresses into the core of the workday.
Sarah outlines her initial tasks. At work, I check my emails first. Then I have many meetings.
There is that verb check again.
It reinforces how dominant that specific verb is for interacting with digital information.
We check our phones in bed, and we check our emails at the desk.
The implication remains the same. It is a scanning process, a routine review for new, relevant data.
And when she mentions her schedule, she uses the phrasing, I have many meetings.
Which mirrors have breakfast? You don't do a meeting.
Correct. While you might attend a meeting in a formal written context.
Like on a formal itinerary.
Right. But in spoken English, you have a meeting. It is an event that occupies your time.
Alex replies to her schedule with a statement that is probably echoed in offices around the world.
Oh, definitely.
He says, meetings can be boring sometimes.
This sentence is a masterclass in how English speakers handle workplace small talk.
Specifically when it comes to expressing negative opinions.
It is a highly strategic sentence.
Let's break down the strategy.
He is expressing a potential frustration, but look at the structural buffers he uses. He doesn't declare, meetings are boring.
That is an absolute statement.
And in a professional or casual setting, it might sound overly aggressive or just too negative.
Instead, he introduces the modal verb can be. Meetings can be boring.
This changes it from a stated fact to a mere possibility.
And then he cushions it even further with an adverb of frequency at the very end. Sometimes.
By layering can be with sometimes, he softens the complaint entirely.
It becomes a mild, relatable observation rather than a direct attack on corporate culture.
Exactly. It invites Sarah to agree with him without forcing her into a negative conversation.
This ability to soften a statement, to make it agreeable and safe for small talk, is a sophisticated communicative skill.
And it's embedded in very simple vocabulary.
It is the linguistic equivalent of a gentle nudge rather than a shove.
Well said.
Moving through the workday, the script arrives at the lunch break.
A very important part of the day.
Alex says, I usually have a lunch break at 12:30 p.m. I go out with my colleagues to a small cafe near the office.
We see the consistency of the language patterns here,
The adverb usually appears again.
combined with have a lunch break.
And then a very specific preposition of time. At.
The preposition at is exclusively used for exact clock times. At 12:30 p.m. At 9:00 a.m., it pinpoints the exact moment.
And his action is to go out with my colleagues.
Using go out in a work context implies physically leaving the premises of the workplace.
You aren't eating at your desk. And colleagues is the slightly elevated standard term for the people you work with.
Interchangeable with coworkers.
When asked what he eats, Alex provides some basic food vocabulary that brings up another fascinating pronunciation quirk.
Yes, the sandwich.
He says, I like chicken salad or a sandwich. It's healthy.
If you look closely at the spelling of the word sandwich, S-A-N-D-W-I-C-H, you might try to pronounce every single letter clearly.
And if you do pronounce it sandwich, hitting that dead hard, it will actually sound quite unnatural to a native ear.
This introduces the concept of elision.
Which is the omission of a sound or syllable when speaking.
Spoken language naturally seeks efficiency. The consonant cluster in the middle of that word, the N, the D, and the W, requires complex, rapid tongue movement to execute perfectly.
So the mouth simply decides to skip the hardest part.
Exactly. The hard-eddy sound is almost entirely dropped in fluid speech. It transforms it to sandwich.
Sandwich.
Sandwich. This is not considered slang or sloppy speech. It is the standard, accepted phonetic reality of the word.
Dropping that dead makes the word lighter and allows the sentence to maintain its rhythm.
It just flows better. Sandwich.
It is so much easier to say quickly. Now, right after discussing his lunch, Alex admits to a very real physical reaction.
We all know this one.
He says, after lunch, I feel a bit tired, so I drink another cup of tea.
And Sarah instantly recognizes this. She replies, I know that feeling. The afternoon slump. I usually work until 6:00 p.m.
I want to spend a moment on this phrase, the afternoon slump. This is a fantastic example of a culturally specific idiom.
It is a highly descriptive phrase that captures a universal biological reality.
To understand why it works, look at the base word slump.
Literally, a slump is a sudden, heavy fall.
You can talk about an economic slump when markets crash.
Or physically slumping your shoulders in defeat.
But when paired with afternoon, it creates an idiom that refers specifically to the sharp decline in energy, focus, and productivity that typically hits office workers between 2:00 p.m. and 4:00 p.m.
It is that specific window where you are staring at your monitor, but your cognitive functions have essentially powered down.
And you are relying entirely on caffeine to make it to the end of the day.
Yes. And linguistically, deploying a phrase like the afternoon slump is a massive upgrade from simply saying, I am tired in the afternoon.
It shows a real mastery of the cultural shorthand.
When you tell an English-speaking colleague that you are hitting the afternoon slump, you aren't just describing your energy levels.
You are tapping into a shared corporate experience.
It generates instant empathy and understanding.
It proves you understand the rhythm of the culture, not just the dictionary definitions of the words.
Absolutely.
To push through this slump, Sarah notes her end time. She says, I usually work until 6:00 p.m.
The preposition until is doing heavy lifting here.
Oh, so.
Until maps out the duration of an ongoing state. It indicates that the action of working continues unbroken right up to the specific point of 6:00 p.m.
And at that exact moment, the action ceases.
It sets the boundary for the end of the workday.
Which carries us smoothly into the final major phase of the daily cycle.
The wind down.
We have survived the slump, the workday is concluded, and the script moves into evening routines.
Alex describes his transition back to his private life.
He says, when I get home, I'm usually tired. I cook dinner, maybe some pasta or rice with vegetables.
The vocabulary here shifts from professional actions to personal maintenance,
He acknowledges the physical state of being tired.
which is the cumulative result of everything we just analyzed.
Then he uses the phrase, cook dinner.
He lists specific, highly common foods, pasta, rice, vegetables, but the core action is cook.
Notice he doesn't use the verb make here.
Right, even though you might hear make dinner occasionally, cook is the definitive, specific verb for preparing a hot meal.
Sarah then probes into another common aspect of modern routines. She asks, do you exercise?
This is a broad, open-ended question. It prompts Alex to reveal how he handles his physical health.
And Alex's response provides a perfect template for discussing repeated habits.
Let's hear it.
He says, I try to. I go to the gym 3 times a week. It helps me relax.
Earlier, we looked at adverbs like usually and always.
Which offer a vague sense of frequency.
But here, Alex uses a precise mathematical structure. 3 times a week.
It is a literal formula. Number plus times a plus the time period.
Yes. Once a week, twice a month, 3 times a year.
It is the most efficient way to communicate exactly how often an event occurs.
And immediately after stating the habit, he justifies it with a crucial structural pattern.
It helps me relax.
It helps me, followed by the verb.
This cause and effect structure is incredibly versatile.
You can use it to explain the motivation behind almost any choice you make.
Taking the subway helps me read.
A cup of coffee helps me focus.
Going to the gym helps me relax. It explicitly connects a physical action to a psychological or emotional benefit.
So Alex relies on the gym for relaxation. Sarah's approach is entirely different.
And it is dictated by her specific daytime routine.
She says, after dinner, I love to watch Netflix or read a book. No more computers.
Because Sarah's entire workday is tethered to a screen in her living room, her evening requires a hard boundary.
The phrase, no more computers, is a declarative, almost commanding structure.
Placing no more before a noun means that zero quantity of that item or activity is permitted from this moment forward.
It's a very natural way to draw a line in the sand.
She replaces the work computer with different forms of media. Watch Netflix has effectively evolved into a compound verb in modern English.
It really has, largely replacing the generic watch TV for a lot of demographics.
And read a book is the classic analog alternative.
But eventually, the relaxation must end, and the biological cycle must reset.
This brings us to the final moments of the script.
Alex describes the end of his day. He says, exactly. At 10:30 p.m., I prepare for bed, I take a hot shower, and set my alarm for the next day.
The phrase prepare for bed serves as an umbrella term for all the microactions we do before sleeping.
But the specific actions he lists, the shower and the alarm, are essential to look at because they rely on very rigid collocations.
This is where direct translation from a native language often fails a learner.
Big time. If you try to translate the concept of cleaning yourself with water, you might guess do a shower or make a shower.
But English requires the verb take. You take a shower.
It is a non-negotiable pairing.
The same strict rules apply to the alarm clock.
Absolutely. You do not put an alarm, you do not open an alarm, you set an alarm.
The verb set implies configuring a device or establishing a state for the future.
You set a trap, you set a timer, you set an alarm.
To achieve natural fluency, you have to stop learning words in isolation.
You cannot memorize set and alarm on different days. You have to memorize the entire chunk of language. Set my alarm.
Learning chunks drastically reduces the cognitive load when you are trying to speak in real time.
It is much faster for the brain to retrieve one complete phrase than to retrieve 2 separate words and try to glue them together with grammar rules on the fly.
It's just more efficient. And with the alarm set, Sarah brings the dialogue to a close, stating, and that is a full day.
We have successfully tracked the linguistic journey from the moment the eyes open to the moment they close.
It is a massive amount of foundational vocabulary condensed into a very short timeline.
And the script actually does us the favor of providing a direct summary of its core anchors right at the end.
Alex concludes by saying, today we learned words like wake up, get dressed, commute, check emails, and relax.
These 5 anchors truly map out the architecture of a standard day.
We have wake up, relying on that smooth phonetic link, walk up.
We have get dressed, capturing the dynamic process of putting on clothes rather than the static state of wearing them.
We have the commute, the journey that might take about 30 minutes.
The continuous cycle of check emails, scanning for data until we hit the inevitable afternoon slump.
And finally, relax. Utilizing it helps me structure to justify our evening choices.
If you can deploy these specific anchors, utilize adverbs of frequency to manage expectations, and describe duration accurately, you possess a remarkably sturdy foundation for communicating in English.
You have the tools to describe your existence.
The script itself offers a piece of advice for how to solidify this knowledge, and it is a method we highly endorse.
Sarah tells the listener, practice these by talking about your own day.
But rather than just treating this like a homework assignment where you practice out loud in front of a mirror, think about how these structures operate internally.
The most effective way to absorb these patterns is to adopt an English inner monologue.
As you physically move through your day tomorrow, try to narrate your own actions using the exact structures we unpacked.
When you feel the transition from sleep to consciousness, think to yourself, I usually wake up at this exact time.
When you step onto public transit, mentally frame the thought. It takes about this many minutes to arrive.
You are essentially becoming the narrator of your own documentary.
By forcing your brain to attach these specific English phrases to your actual physical reality in real time, you move the vocabulary out of the realm of abstract study.
And turn it into applied functional reality.
That internal narration bridges the gap between knowing a rule and instinctively feeling how a sentence should sound.
It makes the language yours. Now, before we conclude this deep dive, I want to leave you with a conceptual thought to mull over.
Something that extends slightly beyond the immediate grammar of the script.
We have just spent a significant amount of time analyzing how our daily routines are built on repetitive, predictable loops.
Waking, washing, commuting, eating, slumping, returning.
The repetition is what makes these words the highest frequency vocabulary in the language. Our actions dictate the words we need.
Precisely. We use usually and always because our physical bodies are moving through the exact same environments day after day.
But think about what happens if you disrupt the physical loop.
If you consciously decide to change just one habit,
Say you decide to stop checking your phone in bed and instead read a chapter of a book.
or you replace the 2:00 p.m. afternoon slump with a 10-minute walk outside.
The moment you change the physical action, the established linguistic loop is broken.
The words you relied on yesterday are no longer sufficient to describe your reality today.
That is the thought to explore. If our physical routines lock us into these specific high-frequency language patterns, does intentionally changing your habits force you to learn entirely new ways to communicate who you are?
It's a fascinating question. When you step outside of your day, usually, you are not just changing your day.
You are demanding new vocabulary from yourself to explain that new day to the world.
It suggests that the fastest way to expand your language might be to simply change your life.
Keep observing your own loops, keep exploring the words that define them, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.